enough with that. If you're watching this video, you just survived the Great American Eclipse of 2017. Speaking of eclipses, there is a theory that the sign of Jonah has to do with an ancient Assyrian eclipse. However, this theory is without sources or even evidence to back it up. Despite the lack of evidence, this has not stopped millions, literally millions, from being drawn to this theory. One only has to look to Steve Cioccolanti's YouTube account. In a posted video, Steve Cioccolanti details the theory as fact, all the while offers no sources.
Just-in-Time sent me this. I don't think Just-in-Time is a real name, but anyway, I give credit where credit is due.
No. I mean credible sources. Sources which we may look up and verify.
I give credit where credit is due.
Just get on with your theory already.
So he said, an evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. So even to the evil generation, he says, I'm still going to give you one sign. Now we interpret that in our context. We read that as Christians. And so we say, no sign is going to be given except the resurrection. Well, that's very Christian.
You do not have to be a Christian to understand that the sign of Jonah is one which foretells the death and resurrection of Jesus. Its meaning is not assumed to be the resurrection understood in a Christian context. Rather, it is overtly about the resurrection, understood in its literary context. In the following verse, Jesus explains the sign of Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Jesus' explanation left no room for ambiguity. In fact, the sign of Jonah fits in line with other predictions of his death and resurrection given to the Pharisees throughout the 4 Gospels. If, by the sign of Jonah, Jesus meant something more than his death and resurrection, why was it not included in his explanation of the sign?
Well, that's very Christian. But that would not be at all what the Pharisees would be looking for. And he said, I'll give you a sign even if you're wicked and dense. What was that sign? Take a look at it. Today, Nineveh is called Mosul, so there's Mosul right there. And there was a total solar eclipse that crossed the north of Nineveh on the 15th of June, 763 BC, during the reign of King Ashur-dan III. Dubbed the Bur-Sagal eclipse, it was one of the most famous solar eclipses in ancient history.
No, it is now, currently, at this time, in the present, today, one of the most famous eclipses in history. However, prior to the 1860s, the eclipse sat unfamiliar to historians for nearly 2,500 years. In fact, the eclipse would not be made famous until it was publicized by Sir Henry Rawlinson in 1867.
In other words, when Jesus said there was a sign given during the time of Jonah, it wasn't that long ago in history from Jesus' perspective.
It wasn't that long ago in Jesus' perspective? Yeah, what's 750 years between contemporaries anyhow? Go on.
And this sign was well known to the entire secular world. Why? Because it was recorded in cuneiform tablets called the Assyrian Eponym Canon. And this is something that was unearthed in the 19th century.
Let me re-emphasize, and I'll be even clearer this time. The eclipse sat unfamiliar to historians for nearly 2,500 years. And yes, that includes historians and people in the time period of Jesus, even to peoples 600 years before him. There is no record of a solar eclipse in the Library of the Dead Sea Scrolls, nothing in the works of Philo of Alexandria, nothing in the works of Josephus, nothing in the rest of Second Temple literature. Not only, but there is nothing of the sort recorded or preserved by the Greeks or Romans, nothing of the kind spoken of in the later rabbinic period, nothing spoken of by the church fathers, and nothing in academia. Nothing. Nothing until the Bur-Sagal eclipse was publicized by Sir Henry Rawlinson in 1867. That's it.
Back in those days, that was textbook stuff. That was children's education. And when Jesus spoke to the Pharisees and said, "You get one sign left." And you know what happened when Jesus was crucified? The sun turned to darkness, which confirmed for those Pharisees who were watching at that time, didn't he say something about the sign of Jonah?
After Jesus' death on the cross, the Pharisees did not connect the darkening of the sun to Jesus' sign of Jonah. That's not even recorded in the Bible. In fact, I don't even know where you get that idea from. But you know what the Pharisees were concerned about after Jesus' death and subsequently after the darkening of the sun? Oh yes, we have an answer. And yes, it's found in the Bible. After Jesus' death and the darkening of the sun, they were concerned about his resurrection claim. It's recorded in Matthew chapter 27, verse 62 through 66. The next day, the one after Preparation Day, the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. "Sir," they said, "we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' So give the order for the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise, his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he has been raised from the dead." That's it. The Pharisees knew that Jesus was referring to his death and resurrection. It's no secret. As I pointed out earlier, Jesus said to the Pharisees concerning the sign of Jonah, "For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." So do you get it yet?
I understand your interpretation. I agree with it. But don't discount the fact that the sun turned to darkness.
All right, now for everyone else. What is the conclusion based on the historical evidence? Thanks for watching. This is my first video posted to YouTube, and I want to thank those who watched. If you would like me to continue making videos, you know what to do. Hit like on my video, and please subscribe for future content. You won't regret it.